This is the Better Bim podcast. I'm Corey Sandiford, and I'm here with my co-host Luke Lascaris, aka Ras Lukia in his colors. And you know why he's wearing those colors? Because it's election season and one can't afford to be on the camera in the wrong colors. I hear somebody tell me that I should wear a rainbow colored shirt so that I don't appear to be supporting any one party. So this is my attempt at a rainbow colored shirt. I got my blue. You know, in Barbados, pink is red. I got green. I got a little orange in the trees. So I supported everybody this morning. And in that vein, we're having an interview this morning with representative of the People's Coalition for Progress, which was formed in Barbados on January 19th, just after the Prime Minister called the election on January 17th. We had the formation of the People's Coalition for Progress, PCP, of the new national party, the United Progressive Party, and the Conservative Barbados Leadership Party. Those three parties came together to form a coalition going into the election, and we have Kemar Stuart here with us this morning, who leads the new national party within the coalition. Kemar, welcome to the podcast. Good to have you on.
Yes, good morning, and thank you.
Good morning.
Yeah, so with that in mind, we wanted to have on Kemar this morning, and the main condition that you need to know about as viewers for this interview is we want to focus on the PCP. We don't want to have conversations about the government and what the government is doing, the ruling party BLP. That's one set of issues which is ventilated quite a bit on platforms and social media. Otherwise, we want to know this morning, we want to learn about the PCP and the new national party and what they bring to the table. So with that in mind, Kemar, just to get the convo started, can you tell us about the PCP and how that came to pass and how the agreement between the three parties, what that looks like?
Hey. Well, thanks for having me on the podcast. This is my first podcast.
Sweet.
Interview.
The initiation.
The initiation.
Yeah, I'm glad to know that we could do that.
Yeah.
I feel welcome. Oh, the PCP. I will have to go back before I give you the end result as the way you see in the news.
Mm-hmm.
So you had the Conservative Barbados Leadership Party was formed before the NNP.
Mm-hmm.
So while I was a member of the Democratic Labour Party,
Important for viewers to know.
Yes.
you had ongoing conversations with parties outside of the Barbados Labour Party.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the smaller parties, all the independent candidates tend to interact, have relationships. So when the CBLP was formed initially, they invited me to come, but I was still in the DLP.
Mm-hmm.
So while all of that was happening, I then left the DLP and I formed the NNP on Heroes Day, National Heroes Day, which is April the 20th.
Which year?
That was last year,
Okay, cool.
2025.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I then remember that CBLP, we had this relationship. So I reached out to them and we tried to collaborate somehow at first. Some time went on, but because we had to find our footing as a new party, the NNP.
Mm-hmm.
So that was an individual effort. So after some time, the members of the UPP, we started to have conversations. But me and Lynette Eastman had an ongoing relationship previously because I do online podcasts. I have my own podcast.
Okay. First time you're going to guest get here now.
So I'm usually the person
Behind.
interviewing.
Got you.
So I had an ongoing relationship with Lynette Eastman as I interviewed her on my podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a mutual friend, Mr. Wendell Callender.
Mm-hmm.
He was a former member of parliament as well. He was member of parliament for Christchurch East for the Barbados Labour Party. He crossed the floor and then contested with the DLP at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I know Wendell personally. So that connection there, I said all along during the election with the other parties. So invited Lynette on. We had that good relationship. So then I reached out to her politically. I asked her what she would think about, forming a coalition.
And this was outside of the election. The election had not been called.
Yeah, this was far outside the election.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We had those discussions. It took a time to earn out.
Mm-hmm.
So in the meantime, we still continue to soldier politically, the NNP.
Mm-hmm.
In December now, we finally came together as we had sport meetings, political meetings. I would send them our platforms and stuff, they would like, etc. One of their members used to come to our press conferences.
Mm-hmm.
So around December, when we started to merge in and start to collaborate, then we started to hear about rumors of election. I honestly didn't believe that election. I thought it was a bluff. Early election. And that was so because May 2026 would give you full 8 years, where all of the members of parliament would qualify for full pension.
Mm-hmm.
So,
you were being guided by that.
Yes. So I thought it would have been a really risky thing to call election, given the fact that you have at least 20 members who were, not pensionable.
Mm-hmm.
So I had in my mind a May date, and I thought the January date was a bluff to throw people off, but that was clearly not the case.
Come to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the questions we got here for you this morning, Kemar, are submitted by our viewers, by our followers who have been following the podcast, and we invited them to submit questions for the newer parties because they're not legacy parties. People might not know as much about them. They're not getting to know you, maybe mostly via the election. And the PCP is news it's still news. It was just happened on January 19th, as we were saying. And we're only here now on February 3rd, this is. So yeah, the questions that I have here for you this morning are starting off with, it's easy to oppose and say that you would do this and that and talk pie in the sky policies and programs. But have you really studied the service of past parliamentarians? What realistic concessions do you expect you would have to make? And do you know where are limitations if you end up being the sole representative of your party who gets elected?
Well, I didn't just pop out this guy lately. I was doing politics for a while. Although I'm young, I'm only 31 years old. But I came into politics in the 2018 general election where I contested for Solutions Barbados in St. Michael Northeast against the Prime Minister.
Correct.
I remember.
I'm also the author of, I had another election after that for the Democratic Labour Party in the city of Bridgetown. I was the president of the Young Democrats, the general secretary of the DLP, and I'm the author of a book called Alternate Views, which is specifically targeted at Barbados' economic road to republic. I do extensive analysis on everything government, so I don't just talk, because I want to talk. I've had long-standing relationships with politicians on both sides of the fence. I've had the benefit of having deep conversations with the former Prime Minister, Mr. Kemar Stuart, former MPs, all of the former MPs in the Democratic Labour Party. There are some members in the BLP that, because I grew up in my early years in St. George, North, who was represented by Glenn Clark. So, irrespective of everything, he was just a affable guy who would give young people good advice. Right? So, I know some people tend to see you young and see you out there doing stuff and think you're just doing it, but it stems from a long history of student guild, interact club at secondary school. I went to SMS, nothing without help from God. So, although you're young, you don't just wake up one day and say, hey, I'm into this thing. Say what the people want to hear. It takes years of research, studying, interacting, and I do have that experience.
Got you. So, Luke, you've been hearing me or you've been hearing Kemar, you got any thoughts on the formation of the PCP, the timing of the PCP around the calling of the election, or what Kemar was just having to tell us before we move on to the next question?
I do think it's good that young people are involved in politics. I do think it's good that you throw your hat in the ring, even if you go against political giants like Mia. And I do like that you haven't saddled yourself to one party, that you're willing to move around to see which party is the best fit, whether it be Solutions, whether it be New National Party, whether it be TLP. So I think that it's good again to have young people involved. And I do wonder too as well, how do you see your political future continuing? Like, will you continue with the coalition? Will you continue just alone as NNP? Like, what will your process be? I guess this will be a addendum to your question just now. Like, if you end up as the sole person in Parliament,
right?
Like, how would that look? Yeah.
How do you deal with the Barbadian perception that you won't be able to do much, even for your constituents if elected, because you can't realistically form a majority government?
That's the situation we have right now. If I am not elected, but someone else is elected, they will have the same exact problem. So my case will be maybe we have to put my case to the people of St. John and say, well, elect me for these specific reasons. If they see fit, they would elect me for the reasons that I put forward, or for reasons they might have that I might not even know about. Right? It could also happen that it gives me the opportunity to chart Barbados in a different course. So traditionally we had two-party representation. This would be the first time outside Dr. Richie Haynes that someone outside the BLP and DLP win a seat. If you go back through history, when Errol Barrow in the formation of the DLP, he was a member of Parliament for the Barbados Labour Party in St. George. And he left and then ran for a new party like the DLP in St. John, and he won and he never lost. So the circumstances are quite similar in terms of historical pattern, and if the people do give me the opportunity, I can then seek to build out an organization, the PCP preferably, because one of our main mandates is multi-party democracy. We believe in proportional representation. So where it's usually a fight between the B's and the D's, we are given a real-time example on how various parties can collaborate on the one organization, and it don't got to be a bash fest constantly. Right? So it changes the political landscape because it highlights the fact that parties can work together. But for some reason, the larger establishment choose to keep it divided and into a bash fest. And I think the population, if you look at voter apathy and the turnout, clearly something is wrong with the bash fest.
Yeah. Wait, just for our viewers, you running for St. John, right?
Yes.
Contesting St. John seat, okay. Which is and I do appreciate the comments that you made about Richie Haynes, Dr. Richie Haynes, sir. Yeah, that
Richie Haynes.
Because it, as you said, I thought about it the same way. Obviously, NDP, NNP, there's similarities there, but also the same reference you made to having a third party, and the way that a third party can influence politics and can be a force and offers a counterweight to the two-party system that we've been so accustomed to, or so entrenched in Western democracies. I would even go as far as to say regional democracies, that is, people are usually very au fait with just having two parties to contest elections. So a third option is something, just as you mentioned, with regards to voter apathy, because people, as in our last podcast, Dr. Ronnie Yearwood was saying, was asking the question, is it voter apathy, or do people just not have people to vote for? So, and then I think the involvement of third parties with alternative candidates producing ideas that they may possibly want to hear, that may be relevant at a constituency level, at a national level, offers voters the opportunity. It strengthens our democracy, offers voters the opportunity for change and to have somebody leading as opposed to these legacy parties.
Well, you just mentioned Sir Richie Haynes, and you've seen the fate of small parties in most Caribbean elections, including in Barbados. Only Sir Richie Haynes in Barbados won a seat twice, having left the Democratic Labour Party to form a party of his own. And he was someone, when he was in the Democratic Labour Party, who was seen as being an alternative prime minister. Like, if history had gone a different way, he could have ended up being prime minister after Errol Barrow passed, instead of Erskine Sandiford. But anyhow, we know how that went. What gives you the idea that your fate in the 2026 election will be at all different from other small parties and candidates of other small parties that run before you?
Well, from my perspective, I would have worked in the community of St. John. I've been working there for some time. I initially wanted to contest St. John under the Democratic Labour Party, and I was working towards that. However, some persons feel like they're being more entitled to take the nomination, and I guess I would say it was a casualty of the political machinery, you know. So I continued doing my work in the constituency, and this is far back as when the water was off, and the parish was having serious water woes. I gathered some people and we went up and provided a temporary relief to the people. So the people encouraged me to continue, you know, being there, doing the work, you know, raise many issues along the way. And the people were very receptive of that because I was kind of the only person out there outside of the sitting representative who was pushing for the constituency. And then, you know, after the crossing, and then sometime after, then there was this whole fracas, and now I'm here as NNP. So I don't want it to be a national broad-based question, but asking if St. John would consider electing Kemar Stuart, because individuals are the ones who win seats and not necessarily the party. You go into Parliament as Luke Lascaris or Corey Sandiford, not necessarily NNP Corey or NNP Luke.
Yeah.
So that's maybe something we need to change, have a conversation about. Register for political parties in Barbados.
But I mean, you go into Parliament that way, but people in Barbados frequently vote. I don't even want to say vote party because I don't want to get into the party support issue and make that the conversation. I'm more thinking of how people in Barbados vote for leadership. And because it's a two-party system, people often vote for who they think will win, or who they think has the strongest case for winning, as opposed to somebody they may like. So they may like Kemar Stuart is running for St. John, might like you for individual, might like how you talk, like how you look, say the right things or whatever. But at the end of the day, I feel more comfortable, not more comfortable, I feel more confident in Mia Motley's leadership as Prime Minister, as leader of the BLP, because that's a known quantity for me, whereas I already know what Kemar might be able to get in there and do. So I might vote for the BLP, even though I'm in St. John and I like Kemar, I might vote for BLP because I got faith in Mia Motley as Prime Minister of the whole country. So what do you think about that aspect?
Well, you're correct. In terms of perception of leadership, with a strong PR machine, you could amplify what you have on offer. Obviously, it takes resources to be able to amplify such an image. As a no party, we would not have.
The resources part is the part that I don't think a lot of people like to think about or know about, the resources part. But go ahead, let me to cross here.
Politics in Barbados is extremely perceptive now, and not so much philosophical.
When you say perceptive versus philosophical, you could clarify?
You have to have shirts, you have to have hats, you have to have whistles, umbrellas, big stages, the glitz, the glamour. If not, you ain't ready. If not, you ain't got no money. Or again, with who has the perception of resources to spend.
Put on the show.
Like, I could go and get free food and, you know, eat and drink, have a grand time, hear the biggest and best artists around, and I'd rather go for that. As I said, the perception of strength, I would go for that as opposed to looking into a party where the stage may not be as big, may not have as much signs of wealth or riches around, you know? Because if you ask majority of people who attend meetings, give me a couple of policies that are announced on the platform that don't necessarily articulate.
True.
Campaigns are not very substance heavy.
Yeah.
Especially these days. If I could use an analogy, listening to you talk, what it makes me think of is job interview setting. You got a job being advertised, and then you have a short list of candidates, and you have the interviewers. In this case, would be the electorate. So you got the interviewers who might have a candidate who might have all the sweetest looking CV, but when he come in the interview, he or she just is not able to present themselves in a way that is quote unquote sexy, or just ain't got maybe the resources to dress the right way for the interview. So they might dress decent, but not as much as this next other candidate who come in there now and own the room and just basically got all the means to present themselves in the interview setting. The interview setting being comparable to the election campaign setting, got all the means to fill up the room and just pitch themselves to the interviewers in that way. Then they get the job, and they're not the right person for the job. They just were able to present themselves in the interview setting, as though that is them. And that person who would have had all the qualifications and the right CV would pass by the wayside just because he or she did not have the resources to present themselves in the interview setting.
You watch Suits, right? Mike Ross.
Once or twice, yes. You're a Suits man?
I watched 1 or 2 episodes.
You like me too, but you saying.
Right. But it's giving people an opportunity and a chance, right? Sometimes we need to critical think. So critical thinking should lead you to make a rational decision. But there are factors that exist in the political sphere which influence your ability to make, I would say, accurate decisions. So if we had to say, well, there are no posters on poles, no colored shirts, no active campaigning, you just register and allow the EBC to manage the electoral process.
Right.
And just take away all of the...
Right. Equal, everybody on the same playing field.
You would see a drastic difference in the way how people perceive parties and politics. It would take away the fun though of election.
It would.
But people love the fun.
But people are driven on emotion for elections. So it's like you see a red, it stirs up a color. You see a yellow and blue, it stirs up a color. You see a different color, it stirs up a feeling. Sorry, not a color. You see a particular color, it stirs up an emotion. It stirs up a real type of feeling. Like to the point that people get. You don't necessarily know who the representative is in your area, but you could see a yellow and blue poster on a pole. You could see a red poster on a pole. And then that's why people get so moved that they pull them down, they get upset and they tear them down. You see the video with the child cuffing the poster on the pole. Like,
yeah.
So without any of that, it would be, I guess it would be quite boring, because then you now have to focus on, just as you say, not the big stage, not the artists, not the lights, the camera, the glitz and the glamour. You got to focus on real policy, and that's harder. Because that critical thinking, a lot of people don't have critical thinking.
It won't be fun, but I just putting this out there now for our viewers, not even to press Kemar issues, but like all the things that Kemar was just referring to that you have to have now, otherwise you're not seeing anything. The hats, the shirts, the whistles, all the things you list off. Do they then not distract us from the issues, from policy? And then by extension, that I feel almost as though with all the different feeling that you're talking about during election, Luke, like it's almost as though we get two different versions of the electorate. You get the one caught up in all the goings on, and then the day after the election, when you have the result in front of you, everybody's sober now. Oh, how did we produce this outcome? How did this come to pass?
Yeah.
When we were just being caught up by the glitz and the glamour.
Dance around.
How put on the show for me?
The shirts, the lights, the location.
Exactly. And if I would argue, not that it would ever happen, it's just for argument's sake, how Kemar is putting it over to us, that if it were to happen that way, then at least people will be more sober during elections. It won't be fun, but people will be sober as opposed and not have two different versions of themselves, the pre-election and the post-election versions of themselves. But Kemar, issue I want to talk to you about before we get towards the end of the interview is if it's you, so you got a 29-1 situation in Parliament currently, and you have the Democratic Labour Party presenting themselves as the alternative to the government, and then you have newer parties such as yours who are aspirants. Are you not then, since you are presenting yourselves outside the Democratic Labour Party, and Democratic Labour Party is the legacy party, are you not then basically fighting the DLP for a limited number of opposition votes? And then, by extension, then does that not mean that you are splitting votes amongst yourself for the people in this election who plan to vote? Because it's a voter apathy election, or so people say.
Well, that's one way to look at it, but honestly, I think no. Public confidence right now, if you examine it, there are some questionable things that could be said about the perception of the DLP.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the DLP is not in government. The Barbados Labour Party is in government, and we are empowering the people to see us as an alternative government, with policies. So it's an open and fair ballot. So nobody has any votes put down. Nobody owns any particular base on the island. So the NNP could very well go in and take away the BLP's political base. All it takes is time, focus, resources, and strategy. The Barbados Labour Party took the Democratic Labour Party's base, well, some of it. Because if you look at the electoral results, you will see that many of the people who voted the DLP in reverse, they turned around and voted the DLP out. And the DLP maintained their core base, which was around 30-something thousand people. But the base is the ticket is not moving much above that. So next election, you may see some people migrating from the government, those who believe that there should be opposition, and some could go to the DLP, some could go to other parties. But there is a choice.
Some might not vote at all.
Some might not vote at all. So the power of choice remains with the people. So we have to give that choice. But if you bring it down to say about all the parties should just get out to the way and just let it be a straight BLP or DLP fight, then I call that stagnation. Because the platforms that the coalition produce and the Friends of Democracy produce so far is superior. In terms of conversation right now, in many
to
ways,
the Democratic Labour Party?
in majority, yeah.
Okay, just making sure. That's what you mean.
And it comes down to leadership and direction. So, notwithstanding Friends of Democracy and the new National Party majority of our members in the base came out to the organization, right? So, what you are seeing on display is a modern version, the evolution of what a modern electorate wants to see for a modern political party. If you can merge those elements, say that if you can merge the base of the DLP into these newer parties and allow it to evolve into one party, which could then challenge the BLP, that is the optimal thing that we could and should work towards. However, with the electorate will have to answer that, like, the electorate will have to vote that way, that seats are distributed across that. Say the DLP is kind of compelled to work with others, and they can't pull a, well, I'm the legacy party, so we demand that we, if the electorate could level this thing out, I think that could be the emergence of a better Barbados.
How do you deal with the appearance that Barbadians like the idea of having small parties around more than they like voting for those parties?
Well, I think people are very warm to the idea of these smaller parties now, because it adds excitement to the landscape. So where it was a comfortable fight, where it had to be either B or a D, that's not the case now. So you got to up your game, increase your standard, increase your fight, because people are watching. And if it is that the small parties are gaining traction and gaining ground, people will acknowledge them. No, this electorate now in the digital age where people can express themselves online. And people have been expressing themselves online. I think it goes well for what politics is. So if we can have, as I say, the modern electorate engaged in the legacy system to allow it to evolve, many attempts at evolution was met with a slap down. Right? So you need that evolution, and if it can happen, it will change the entire political landscape, and it will force the Barbados Labour Party to have to evolve in the way they approach the electorate.
Well, one last question for you, and this is in Luke's sphere, so I want to hear Luke's thoughts on it as well. How do you view the skillful use of social media for your party? And would you say that since you started, because you weren't around for the last election, my question here framed around the last election, because I'm always interested to know how parties use social media between elections, but you started last year. So would you say you kept up a sustained presence since you started on social media? Because I looked at the UPP, and the UPP when the election started, I hadn't posted since the last election. How do you view the skillful use of social media for your party, and would you say you've kept up a sustained presence? And then Luke, I go on and get your comments on that too.
Well, for the NNP, sure, we had high visibility on social media. Me personally, as an individual, I have high visibility on my Instagram and TikTok. One of my videos went at least 500,000 views. And that was me speaking politics, global views, etc. So, yes, and that benefited me, obviously, when they established the NNP brand. And since we would have formed the coalition, there were some benefits from having that high visibility in terms of utilizing my same structure to benefit the coalition. So my seeing where you have a nice setup production studio, I usually do a nice production, and I link those skills to I would say some rather ungrateful persons. No,
Me love it.
but now we're using it for the benefit of people who are more deserving.
Yeah, because I do agree with what you were saying in your previous answer, that the advent of social media, the rise of it, like you could have candidates who would otherwise fade into the background, given like how much there is to pump into a party, especially within a specific seat. Like I think about Jason Phillips in St. Peter versus Colin Jordan. Now, Colin Jordan, let's say he would do the work, but he's not a very glitzy social media guy, so the work will be done in the background. But now with Jason, and yes, Jason may not be seen by some as a serious candidate, but he shows up consistently on social media. So he's always in your face. He was in your face from a while back now. So then, like, in a way, it forced Colin to come forward and say, okay, we did this in the constituency, and start to list out what it is that he did. It forced a change in the way that he was performing on social media.
His social media game.
Yeah. So, and I think all the outside parties, the opposition parties, have in turn forced the leading party, the Barbados Labour Party, to also up their social media game, because you have to show what you've done, show what work you've done. I mean, let's say, for argument's sake, the pressure that you would have done in St. John and the pressure where Ralph too would have caused. Where you see, like, I see a lot of social media stuff coming out from Charles Griffith's campaign now, like real heavy social media usage. The same thing again, just like with St. Peter, you see, I've done this, I've done that, and this is what we want to do for the constituency going forward for the future, and all that type of stuff. But this was not necessarily stuff that you really saw before, or you didn't see such a heavy push for St. John in the last election, because people know that is a potential stronghold for another party. It isn't necessarily a BLP stronghold. I know that the DLP has lost it. It means that it really could possibly be up for grabs.
If you check my social media, you can see my posts from earliest 2022 in St. John. Seaweed Machine, Pothouse Road, Wakefield Road, just genuinely going around being with the people. Even when it was, again, back over the other side, you would see me pictures over there. So you mentioned about the representatives sending out content, no, but that was not necessarily the case up until the election part. Right? So only if an issue is raised, you would see a social media post saying about, we tried to fix this, we tried to fix that, it's going to be fixed on X, Y, Z date. Sometimes nothing happens. A couple of months pass, they come back and do another press conference on the same spot. This is going to be fixed on X, Y, Z date by X, Y, Z time. Run of the mill, the normal PR stuff to keep yourself visible. No election time, that just changed. It was just a blitz. Every app I go on my phone is vote for whoever, So you're seeing that aggressive thing. Text messages come into your phone saying vote. Every time you click on Facebook, paid ads, IG paid ads, TikTok ads. People canvassing via memes now. So, some politicians say some very strange things sometimes. Some people take it, meme it out, send it wrong. So it's good. Again, the memes are good for the kicks. Sometimes it do bring education because something said in a joke do capture your attention more than if you say it's serious. So yes, the social media is playing a huge role. It's also very cost effective as well. It saves you time. So everybody has a phone, for sure. Even the oldest person down to the littlest child, right? And it's more effective to reach them on that phone. Or I would say more convenient to reach them on that phone, but there's still the party electorate that still need to see and feel and touch you.
Yeah.
And you can never get away from that.
I think we spoke about it on the episode before that it was like that people do need kind of boots on the ground. Like they need to see you, they need to hear from you, like in person. Like a phone is good saying I've done X, Y, Z is good, but then if you haven't seen your representative for however many months, years, nothing has really, you might not fundamentally need things changing in your constituency, but the fact that you haven't showed up suggests that you don't care. So there still is the need to, I guess, slap the tire, walk around, do the work within the constituency to be able to effect change.
Things always need change in the constituencies.
Yeah, true.
Kemar, I want to thank you for really want to thank you for being on today. I want to wish you the best in the election. More than anything, I want to thank you for having a conversation with us about you, because at the end of the day, this is for our viewers and following and folks out there, whoever sees this on social media, to get to know you as a candidate, to get to know the new national party where you bring it to the table, and to get to know the PCP by extension, the coalition, and what you could or would bring to the government where you elected. So thanks for having a conversation with us that is not Mia-centric, that is not BLP-centric, because a lot of what is out there right now. So you got the BLP on the one hand dominating, and then you got the opposition or prospective opposition parties who are also focusing everything that they have to say on what's going on with the government, and the people would like some substance in there to know what is going on with you. So thanks for having that convo with us.
Yes.
All the best to you
in
the election.
I appreciate it.
Next week.
Yes, thank you.